This is episode 232 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dio Morales, and today we're joined by Marcel, top 4 but still sore, Manzano. Will, Puffy Paultrons are in. Hagewood.
Put him over my shoulders, make him big and brown and puffy.
What? Ryan, it's a boy, and his name is... I'm not going to be the first one to say this name, sir.
Oliver Luke Staniszewski, a.k.a. the nickname will be Ollie.
Woo! It's a boy.
Official, don't need to keep it secret anymore. I'm having a son. Little baby Ollie.
The chosen one. All right, well, that's exciting. This is the second time you bamboozled us in the podcast, sir.
The only other time is going to be when I have to go to the emergency room.
Ryan, he's not here because his wife is in labor, Staniszewski. We'll just put that one to the side. Well, congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
It's always so exciting. All right. With the warm, touchy feels out of the way, today, a podcast episode brought to you by our GSP patrons. If you want to be part of the large group of supporters we have, you can go to patreon.com/Gold Squadron. Right before this, I was printing out labels and slapping them on padded envelopes and starting to send them all around the world. So thank you to our patrons. You're going to be getting that Shadow Squadron swag. We have the Scum Squadron. We got to come up with a cool name. You know what? Let's just do it live. What do you think? I need a cool moniker for the next Scum Squadron. So it's going to be a Fang, Kimogila, Kirax. What? I had the list. Hold on. I gotta go check.
What?
Hold on.
Was it a Star Viper?
No, not a Star Viper. Because the top down just didn't quite work. Hold on. Let me just go pull up my conversation with the artist.
While you're pulling that up, what's the other squadrons' names?
So we have Alphabet Squadron. That's kind of where it started because it was the Rebels. Shadow Squadron was for Empire. Oh, it's going to be Fang, Hawk, Kirax, M3A, Kimogila. So we need something squad, like one word.
Black
Bam.
Sun?
Black Sun Squadron. Initially, I had in my mind Skull Squadron. But, like, that's real specific.
It's a Fang pilot thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Alphabet, Shadow.
Outlaw?
Outlaw
Ragtag.
Squadron? That's a good one.
That's a good. We're gonna put that on the big board for sure.
I think Outlaw is definitely a good one.
Autopilot Squadron?
Denied. All right. Maybe Cutthroat Squadron is cool. Cutthroat Squadron is cool. I see some people suggesting that one.
Mercenary Squadron.
Ooh, Desperado.
Ooh.
Desperado Squadron. All right, cool. Well, I like it. You know what? Maybe we'll use them all. We'll just use them all interchangeably because we all know what's being talked about anyway. All right, so today we are breaking down the Scarif qualifier. It was our final qualifier going into the Alderaan Invitational. The end of the Galactic Championship Series is coming up, my friends. But we're going to take a look at that top cut. We had a top 32. Normally, we take a look at top 16. It's really going to take it's going to be dependent on how much time we have. But it's been really interesting to see what this major extended event after the points change and how things shook out. So we had a very I'm gonna say a very high-powered top cut, and you'll see what we mean there. My friends, do we want to kind of talk about the event overall first before we jump into the list?
Yeah, because if we're not going backwards, that means there's no endpoint, or there might not be an endpoint.
Yeah,
so let's start with
this is true.
Some context of faction breakdown and such.
All right, cool. So let's give you guys some cool charts. All right, we'll give you guys some cool charts. So I posted these on our Facebook, and they'll be posted on our website. I just realized right now that I didn't put it in like the most important place. All right, so that's the wrong window. What's happening right now? There we go. All right. So faction breakdown. You can see the winning list there as well. We had 13 Separatists, 17 Republic, 38 Rebel lists, 22 Scum lists, 23 Imperial lists, 23 Resistance lists, and 20 First Order. What are you guys' thoughts on this faction breakdown? This is just looking at the Swiss.
A lot of rebels again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Separatists went. It looks pretty even across the board. Just the outliers being Separatist and Rebel. And I don't know if
to some degree Republic too. Republic was also sub 20.
Yeah, but I mean they're still kind of like within that margin of like plus 2, plus 3.
Yeah. There is definitely
20.
an outlier in performance, though, when you look at things like Resistance.
Yeah, Resistance and Scum as well. I mean, I think that's like the biggest swing, because once you got rid of Zam, or
majorly increased the points. Yeah.
Yeah, well, once you got rid of so many people bringing Zam, both Separatist and Scum just took a hit, both in how many people used them, but also took a hit in how many people made the cut. What percentage of people made the cut after using them? I think Scum and Separatist has always been a really high percentage of making the cut. It's always been above 33%, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes even half of the people. Now they did it. Now they're
falling behind the curve a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like that Rebels 38 total people. When we go back and take a peek at Hoth, which didn't have as many people playing, but Hoth also had a very high percentage, 29. And of course that's just that cut rate. Ryan, go ahead and give me those cut rates.
Oh well, hold on. Now I gotta do math. Because my special graph that I made, if you're talking about percentages, I have to do math. If I don't,
just the number. Just give me the numbers. We'll get the percentage in a minute.
Cool, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. When you say cut rate, I immediately think percentages.
I have the percentages, Ryan. When I say the number.
So give me the number.
We'll go
and then
through
get the percentage.
first. All right. So there are only 2. So granted, this was a top 32 cut. So there's more than the 16. Obviously, we had 163 players. Lot of showing up. 2 Separatists in the cut, 6 Republic in the cut, 9 Rebel in the cut, 3 Scum in the cut, 4 Imperial, 2 Resistance, 4 First Order. And if you got the numbers, Will, go ahead and get those percentages.
I do, courtesy of James Ritter. He broke all this down on Sunday. That makes then the Galactic Republic the highest cut percentage at 35. And then the next highest notables then would be Resistance at 26, and the Rebel Alliance, even though their numbers were extreme on the 38, that 9 of them in the cut still had 23% cut rate. The lowest then, obviously, the First Order at just a 10% cut rate, which I think is very interesting, because I thought coming up into this event that the new ships, the Whisper and the FO Bomber, were going to be extremely popular and extremely well flown. But alas, not the case.
Yeah, so it's not also always just the fact that you have high amount of numbers in the cut. You got to think of the overall taken. So those percentages can kind of sway or give another perspective to this sort of chart that we're seeing of the basic faction breakdown. So even though we do see the low number of Republic lists taken as 17, they're kind of taking on what Marcel mentioned, that sort of separatist thing where there's not a lot of them, but they show up and perform well. Force is good.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is that only 30? Wait a second.
What are you looking at?
I'm double checking the numbers. Dylan, is that? Hold up.
Because Rebel is only 23% cut rate.
Mm-hmm.
There may have been an error along the way.
20. I'm only counting 30, Dion.
30 total lists.
In the cut?
Are we missing? What are we missing?
17, 20, 24, 26, 30. Dion, I think you missed a number there.
Bro, I was just reading from James' chart. All right.
James. Well,
so what are we missing? It looks like I'm missing resistance should be 4. That's what Chase is saying. So that would be the 2 that we're missing. 4 out of 23. Here you go. The bracket doesn't lie. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6. 6 resistance in the cut.
There you go. So we're missing.
Breakdown image is a lie.
This false. False.
Unless the bracket's incorrectly labeled, then that's a lie.
Well, to be fair. Wait, no, that's not right. It was local time.
I'm talking the whole time I'm muted here. I'm saying it's are we doing top 32 or are we doing top 32? Because bracket, did everybody that make the cut actually participate in the cut this time?
There was one person who didn't. There was just one.
Okay. Because that changes stuff, right?
Slightly by one.
By one.
Pushed it all by one.
Okay. Well,
the numbers are close enough.
they're close enough.
They're close enough. They give you a trend. They show you the trends.
Basically, the worst performing in general are the ones that are 5 or less that made it to the cut, but 20 or more. Because you're looking at like Scum that only had 3 versus in 23 in the cut, 22 taken. That's actually pretty abysmal in comparison to something like even the Separatists, only 2 out of 13. That's still 15%. So
Exactly.
either way.
Okay, so we are data. We are not math.
Well, first we got to check our sources.
Yeah, we'll have to go back.
And then
Actually,
we have data.
Yeah, today actually I saw a couple other faction issues that need to go get fixed. So, just for like pricing stuff. So we're gonna go back and check that stuff. But the lists, at least we know those are accurate. Okay, we can fix the diagrams later. Yeah. All right.
There you go.
So let's go ahead and let's just jump right into it. Our champion. Well, there you go. We can use that picture. This picture is accurate. All right. Congratulations to our champion, Pierre Benitroy, bringing a Rebel list. Ahsoka Tano with concussion missile, vectored cannons, proton rockets, and vectored cannons on Jake Farrell. And then we got Dash Rendar with expert handling, Jyn Erso, perceptive co-pilot, stealth device, and the Outrider title. My man, Will, tell me about some of the gross things that this list can do.
All right. So first off, as a note, everybody's a turret. With those vectored cannons, and Dash has the bow tie. We've seen that. Well, Jake has the proton rocket. Ahsoka's got it out the front. So they're all kind of pseudo bow tie ships. Having more arcs turns out is good, but you know what's better than having more arcs? Having more actions. So we saw consistently Pierre utilizing Jake to activate that perceptive co-pilot Jyn Erso action. One action giving you 2 tokens, right? And then, in addition to that, because Ahsoka and Dash are the same initiative, he was utilizing expert handling to be able to barrel roll Dash before or after his activation, putting him in extremely unpredictable locations, then having essentially a 4th action to rotate or lock as well. I was even counting Outrider as if you remove a red token, that's kind of like a jam if you're removing a target lock on dash. That's enormous amount of actions coming out of Dash Rendar and these pilots. But my main takeaway is that watching Jake and Ahsoka flown with those vectored cannons and essentially not slowed down by them at all. Utilizing the rear arcs to stay close to Dash, and the system phase boosts from Jake for that coordinate was super important as well. So it is just, at some point in time, we lost track of what action was even taken by whom during the course of the games. And it was just, man, a masterclass in list synergies. Every single upgrade working together to create a sum greater than its parts.
Yeah, the it was pretty gross to see that whole combination of things. Just when you thought it was safe, you're like, it's okay, we took away the gunner, we'll just give him 2 crew. All the rebels go, hey, I know what we can do with that. So Pierre brought that to victory, but that was not without having to fight for it versus Renato Flores. Marcel, go ahead and take this one for me.
Sure. Renato flew 2 Edda and an Ether Sprite for 3 named Jedi. So it's Anakin Skywalker with Sense, Predator, R2A6, and Stealth Device. Obi-Wan in the Edda Actis with Sense, Predator, R5, and Stealth Device. And then you have Plo Koon with Sense, R5, and CLT calibrated laser targeting. And then you top it all off with, sorry about that. You top it all off with what I think the best ace style piloting I've seen this year, I would say. Very impressed with Renato, not just here, but also during the XTC. I actually played him in one of the Brazilian tournaments, and he beat me. I think Renato is really proving himself to be one of the best players in the world by far. I mean, he, especially with that AC type of list, just very, very consistent, very creative, and again, all credit in the world to Pierre. Pierre had an amazing synergy, very difficult list. Renato flew his butt off. That's all I can say.
No Pants Republic. If you were there live, Renato, No Pants Republic. That's what we called him.
Yeah. He flew his butt off. Yeah.
All right. Then we're moving to Nick Tobin, a Chicago local. Take it, Ryan.
Nicholas Tobin bringing the First Order and an old-style, normally reliable archetype in the Kylo Tavzin plus thing. We have a new thing added to the mix. It's Breach in the TIE Bomber. For their loadouts, Tavzin's got nothing, as he normally does. Kylo's got Extreme Maneuvers, Sensor Scrambler, and Ion Torpedoes. And Breach has Fanatical, Advanced Proton Torpedoes, Electro Chaff Missiles, and Connernets. As a very there's some synergistic things that can happen turn over turn, not directly in the same turns, where Kylo could ion something and Breach can pounce on it utilizing the advanced proton torpedoes, or even set up the Connernet to ion them for 2 turns in a row and have Breach fly over them and do his fancy tricks. Tavzin, obviously, with a coordinating capability, with still that 4-dice gun, that could still be very dangerous even if he coordinates. If you shoot at Tavzin's going to shoot back at you with a mod. So it's very disincentivized to shoot at Tavzin in the first place with that 4-dice gun that can gain mods when you do damage to him. So Breach can still get a double modified attack from a coordinated Tavzin.
Yeah, loved it. So we got a game with Nick Tobin on stream during the top 8, I believe. Was that right, Will? Was it top 8? No.
Yep.
Yeah, top 8 game. And that was a close one. I suggest watching that one. That was a fun one to watch. Lots of back and forth. Yeah, highly recommended. Now, there's this scrub, Marcel Manzano, out of the Chicago area, who also flew a dash. Obviously, not the right choices in his dash, but you know, close enough. Close enough. Top 4. Marcel, go ahead. Talk about your list.
We're gonna talk about it tomorrow in person, buddy. You know, just like I told Will, watch your mouth. I'm still your captain. So so dash is the same dash from last week's store championship. It's trick shot, cannon, K2SO, and outrider. And yeah, it's one less action, so definitely not the correct dash, because this only gives you cannon is one action, K2SO is another, and then Will wants to throw outrider as an action, and then your regular action. But then Corn Horn with Lone Wolf, Pattern Analyzer, Fire Control System, Proton Torpedoes, and Ryan's favorite regen, Astromech R2D2. And that third charge came in handy so many times. I think I used all 3 in almost every situation except against when I lost, which I didn't get a chance to use any because they just disappeared.
You got curb stomped, man.
I did. So that you know, speaking serious, just a quick detour, seriously about that, like random player order. That random player order definitely makes a big difference, even if you make mistakes during the game. Those mistakes are amplified by, you know, you can correct mistakes when moving second. When you're moving first, you make mistakes because you're trying to predict, and you probably outthink yourself sometimes. If you know what I mean, like you try to get a little too cute, and you outthink. You know, you kind of get ahead of yourself versus just being able to, oops, I made a mistake, let me just adjust. You know, like that turn where he had Ahsoka, and then he was able to, let me just adjust, and then put dash where dash is not going to get shot and kill. So it came in. That RPO came in a lot if you're playing at Initiative 5. I don't know how often it came in the other ones, but I assume I5 and I6 it was critical every time. I assume. But
I'd like to throw this out here that that to me tells me anyone who makes it through most of an event and wins, if RPO is a 50-50 most of the time, and I'd be curious if we can actually get data on what people got when in their matchups to know if someone got second player more or not. But it should indicate a better quality skilled player making it all the way through, because they may have to win games as first player in matchups where it's at their disadvantage as well. When you're saying there's mistakes are amplified, and because the second player can reactively correct their decisions.
Yeah, and I actually only got to move second in a game that mattered once, and every game felt like an uphill battle because of it. But you know, it's Dash, so Dash is broken. But other than Dash being Dash and throwing a lot of dice, the one that I did get to move second, it just feels so much different. Yeah, so different. Anyway, so that's the list.
So well, let's parse different though. Is different actually translate to easier? You're saying it feels different.
Yeah, in the
okay. I just want. I'm being stubborn there just because I want to take off the veil that it in fact is easier being the second player.
For example, like the game against Eno, I played. Then we're gonna talk about Eno. Eno, I'm not gonna say his list completely, but he flew Dangar and Boba. Obviously, Boba's, can go this far with a boost, and being able to get range 1 of Dash is huge versus, because he knows where Dash is, versus not knowing, and you just park yourself and focus, and then you're not getting those range 1 bubbles anymore with bow. I mean, it makes a huge difference every time, I thought. Unless you're Renato and you've got like a million cents. Anyway.
It works. It works.
Yeah, really good stuff. I loved it.
So I want to talk about probably what I'm going to say is just something that you're not really talking about. I want to talk a little bit about Corran Horn. Like that's a pilot that we really haven't seen played out there. So if you're not familiar with Corran Horn ability, at Initiative 0, you may perform a bonus primary attack against an enemy ship in your bullseye. If you do, at the start of the next planning phase, game 1 disarm token. Were you able to get any meaningful double attacks off in your games?
Yeah, even against Eno, I was able to get 3 of them, even moving first. Because they're big ships. It's Dengar and Boba. I was able to get 3, and the thing about it is when you take that the second shot, you get a disarm token, so you can regen, and then you end up with 2 disarm tokens, but it still has the same effect. You're not shooting next turn, so it makes it a lot easier to go in and just joust someone and say, I'm going to accept some damage to shoot twice, and then just go out and basically by shooting twice, you're eliminating 1 shield because you're getting a shield back. So I thought it was really good. It was better than the Hera one that I flew last week.
I would like to, because you did say Marcel's dash was wrong initially. I will say the dashes that have Perceptive Copilot and Jin we pretty much need to have some type of supportive ship like Hera, Ahsoka, or Jake, which are all great pieces. You can have 2 of them in a list, as we've seen. If you don't have one of those supportive pieces, and Dash needs to be more loner by himself, not needing the help for those actions, because if he bumps, that Jin Urso Perceptive Copilot thing doesn't matter if he doesn't have help. The Kanan Jarrus K2SO combo makes a ton of sense. So in a 2-ship list like this, Marcel, I think, is very correct, or at least definitely on the right track.
Yeah, or if you kill Jake early or something like that, then it just... Yeah. So the correct one has higher staying power early on, but worse late game. The wrong one, you got to survive the early stage, but has better late game, I would say.
Good assessment.
All right, cool. I just wanted to mention Corran. There's been so much excitement about E-wings that we didn't really focus too much on it. But what happens when you target lock a dash with your Corran?
That was the 1:30 a.m. doing, because I've been flying dash and doing that to other people. so that was 1:30 in the waking up in the morning, Marcel brain. I thought about it when he moved. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, that's when I realized that, oh man, Outrider is a jam action, or it can be, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
it's pretty much like a poor man's false transponder codes, but it can happen every turn, but it doesn't actually jam you.
It's like that dust cloud or whatever Nick Tubman was flying.
Shaft cloud, yeah.
It's like a shaft cloud without the penalty. Look at
Breaks
that.
all the locks, yeah.
All right, cool. It was a little sad. We saw it and was like, oh no.
Yeah, and actually I did that originally when I did it in the first move. I did it thinking like I'm gonna make him think that I'm targeting Dash and go after Jake, because I knew Jake was the cornerstone at first.
Yeah.
And when I made that hard tune, I was thinking of boosting and locking. But again, I just overthought it because I was
then Jake
first,
came in and was like, "What's up? What you want?"
Yeah.
Block.
I killed everything. Anyway, let's talk about Sven.
All right, we're moving on to Sven. All right. Sven brought a resistance list. Ray in the YT 1300, obviously big puncher. Rose Tico, Finn Gunner, and the Ray's Millennium Falcon. Do note there, very common, usually Rey will end up having Corcella on board. Not in this build because you didn't have enough points because they brought a Poe Dameron with R2 astromech and a ZZ Talo with the with proton rockets. So was able to bring it, even though not having access to those stress relieving shenanigans, you were able to bring 3 high initiative ships, and that Poe Dameron is that is the trigger happy flyboy Poe, if I'm not mistaken, right? 66 points with R2.
Correct.
So so yeah, great, just simple lists. Go in and shoot stuff. Be modified is essentially what that is. ZZ out of them all has the worst, not the worst shot, but I mean resistance A-wings are just, they're just good. And of course, if you're always worrying about that that proton rocket range 1 to 2 in the bullseye, bad stuff can happen. Now R2 astromech, that is the regen droid, right?
Yep, regen for disarms, which makes sense. Like, so often Poe is just stressed and just needs to leave and run away. So often we see him come in, lose his shields, and then skirt around the rest of the battle. So R2, a very interesting choice for him.
All right, let's keep it going, Will. Let's talk about this Imperial list, the highest rated Imperial list in the event.
Yes, this comes from Max. Max has brought, I'm going to start with a name you may not have heard of for a while. This is Lieutenant Kestel in the Aggressor. That's right, a named Aggressor with ion cannon turret and barrage rockets. Because Kestel can spend the focus token to cancel all of the defender's blink and eyeball results. Barrage rocket, a natural home for the ship. Honestly, can I be frank? Kestel has one of the best abilities. If it was on any other chassis, it would be borderline broken. But unless, if you're on an aggressor, it's fine.
Think about it. It cancels force, focus, calculate, evade tokens, and that's it. It doesn't cancel reinforced
Gas clouds.
Yeah. Gas clouds
gas
too.
clouds.
If they don't roll natural paint, what's even more disgusting, putting juke on it and be like, I'll just juke it and just throw all your dice away. If you somehow got force or focus evade.
You sad, bro?
I mean, that is
pretty broken. That's what I'm saying.
And then with barrage rockets, throwing 3 dice out of everywhere. I mean, yeah, you have to roll your hits. But it's great because you have to roll your hits just naturally. But that means you get to keep your focus either to crack shot them or for defense. So it works really well.
What's better if you roll hit blank? And would you rather have optics to spend it for 3 hits, or would you just like to cancel all of your opponent's dice?
Or potentially let them evade it natively, and you keep your focus for defense. So,
well, anyways,
and it's only 42 points.
That's my soapbox for right now. Is that Kestel's ability is underrated,
and it could be 39 if you put dorsal turret instead. It'll still work with 39.
Yeah, pretty good. Anyways, just a little shout out to him. Well, what makes him even better is what we're talking about. What if you happen to also have a lock? That comes from Jenden and those his ability to have them acquire beyond range 3 in the early rounds. Jenden has Emperor Palpatine and ST-321. That's when you coordinate for a target lock. And then probably the real ships of this list is Fifth Brother with a homing missile and Seventh Sister with fire control system. Where is the target priority? I guess this is my question to you guys. Where is the target priority in this list?
Fifth brother.
I killed Fifth Brother first because he gave them to me. Well, because I got lucky and Dash did a one shot. Not gave them to me.
Wow.
That's what Dash does. But my first priority was Lieutenant Kestel because the getting rid of focuses and evades it's really scary, and then you getting rid of range 3 So you're getting rid of a range 3 die, and you're getting rid of with Palpatine. He can still shoot those 3 dice with a soft mod Palpatine,
And a lock from Jendon.
and a lock from Jendon, a focus from Palpatine, and then crack shot up to 3 different things. I mean, it's I think Lieutenant Kestel should be in more lists. It's scary good, and for the price. Make that caveat. It's scary good for the price. If it's more expensive, it's not good.
Well, if you go ahead and type !tracker in the Twitch chat, you can actually go ahead and take a peek at Jendon's cost and watch it just slowly dwindle. I'm actually gonna go pull it up.
Kestel?
Kestel.
Kestel's cost?
Excuse me. Yeah, Kestel.
And to be fair, this isn't the first time we've seen Kestel. I mean, Catherine did it with Kestel and tracer missiles as well. Another have a focus, shoot a missile ability. So
Just for funsies, on release, Kestel was 36 points and is currently 29. So it's gone down 7 since release.
That's a fifth of his cost in reduction so far. 20% off.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
29, 2 for 50.
All right, let's keep it going, Marcel. Let's take a look at Kaspar's list.
All right, so Caspar is flew Rebel 4s with 10 num, Braylon with just their S foils, Dutch with ion turret, ion torpedoes, R3 astromech, and something hidden behind the card that you put up there. Munitions failsafe, thank you. And then Garvin Dries with, did I say that right?
Dreas.
I'm getting better at this. With servo motor S foils. And it's Kanan.
Oh,
All right.
he's
I
growing.
like this weekend.
I've got to ask, why munitions failsafe and not a hopeful anywhere? Especially Dutch, who likes to lock.
I agree. Hopeful. Put hopeful on your Dutch. Come on. So good. That guy's never focused.
I'll give him a boost. Is that what hopeful's a boost, right?
Yeah, you know you
Focus
can
or
boost or
boost.
focus.
Yeah. He never focuses or never boosts. Yeah.
Certainly does not.
Certainly can't boost normally. He's not a resistance Y-wing.
Actually, like, to be honest, that hopeful on those B-wings, since, like,
I think the problem is those B-wings get stressed so much, specifically
stressed.
those two.
Yeah. I
true.
mean, that might be the problem with Dutch, though, too. Dutch might be the one gunned down first. He is the most expensive one agility ship in this, with the least amount of defensive mods.
well, then it would be
But
Garvin,
also
right?
with-
Because
with-
Garvin does focus things anyway.
But I mean, if you're just swapping munitions failsafe for hopeful, it's the same cost.
Yeah, and realistically, I would take hopeful on anything, including the stress ships over munitions failsafe. I think it doesn't matter where it goes. Put it somewhere. Find a spot.
It's true.
Still, don't want to negative all this. That's just a minor nitpick that I think is
We're
seems
critiquing
obvious to
half
me.
1% of this list.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty much Rebel classic, right? Like this is your Rebel bread and butter. These just B-wings just going down and just
Hardcore
just
jousting,
mowing
lots of
things
good
down.
action, lots of double mods. Yeah.
All right. So, are Rebels good? Yeah. Here's another way. You don't just have to bring a big turret, right? Like we've seen so far. You could also bring some B-wings. All right. Keep it going, Ryan.
We got Matthew Wilson with the Galactic Republic running a familiar archetype with a different fourth ship that we don't commonly see. We have the 3 Jedi Knights with Delta 7B, now at the 50-point cost and not the 49. With instead this time we have Plo Koon in the Delta 7 Aether Sprite with CLT and Compassion for that last point. I mean, Compassion's a 1 point, not a big deal. I would probably try and throw a synced sync council on probably Plo, maybe. I think Plo is a solid Delta 7 Aether Sprite as a potential support capability for people who forget that he has an
Wait,
ability.
just one quick thing. CLT takes your.
Oh, it does take a mod slot, so it'd have to be on one of the knights if you want to, which the knights do lock quite often, though, too. Thanks for reminding me, though. But yeah, Plo's ability for people who forget is something that can catch a lot of people off guard. When you have a couple of ships in front, if the Jedi Knights are sort of screening Plo, Plo can utilize his at the start of engagement, you may spend a force and choose one other friendly ship at 0 to 2. If you do, you can transfer a green token to it or transfer an orange token from it to yourself. Mostly it's the green token to a friend. So if you do have that Jedi Knight that locked and used its force to do a reposition, might want a mod for its eyeballs so Plo can pass it to someone. Now, is this Plo better than Shock T, who's still very viable and even better support platform, but not as offensively threatening as Plo Koon? Don't know. But we haven't seen people try Shock T and the Jedi Knights again since the auto blasters and the cannons in general were taken off of the Aegis.
All right, we'll keep it going. Next, we got Chris Burnett. Chris Burnett, pretty much flying, you know, a variation on what we saw at Hoth from Carson Ray, with a couple of important tweaks that makes it so that for most of the time, all 4 of these ships have 3 dice attacks. So we got Poe Dameron in the T-70 X-Wing, but specifically, this is the Commander Poe. Okay, this is the Commander Poe, the one that allows other friendly ships to perform a bonus action, but that can only happen every other turn. We also have a Red Squadron Expert with a droid that very few people use or see very often. We have R6D8. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look at R6D8. It says, while you perform an attack, you may re-roll a number of attack dice up to the number of friendly ships at range 0 to 3 that have the defender in their bullseye. So if you're able to line up a couple of bullseyes, you get some rerolls. You're like, hey, look at me, I'm the Jess Pava now. All right, then hey, guess what, you also have Jessica Pava, and she's rolling out with M9G8. I've been talking to the boys about M9G8 a little bit, and was recently thinking, like, man, this is a card that we haven't really seen too much of, which is the droid that says you can target lock any ship. It could be friendly or enemy ship, and while that ship is attacking, you can re-roll 1 attack die. Offensively, what you end up doing, because Jess has re-rolls natively, you target lock a friendly ship, and now they have guaranteed 1 re-roll as long as Jessica Pava is alive. Defensively, which is used less often, you target lock the enemy ship, and you can force them to re-roll a die there. Then we have Kaz in the Fireball. Kaz with R5 Astromech. Kaz allows you to essentially pump up his attack value when your enemy's initiative is higher than the number of damage cards that you have. So when you have 0 damage cards, because you end up triggering that R5 Astromech, initiatives 1 and higher end up triggering that, and as you have more damage cards, it's less and less ships that it applies for. But in a high initiative meta, Kaz is throwing 3 dice most of the time.
That also works on defense too.
Yeah, defense, so 3 agility as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so
and rerolls with M9, so
yeah, I was going to guess the same, Marcel. Jessica's locking Kaz, because Poe, even though it's Commander Poe every other turn, double mod. Red Squadron Expert might have double mods. Jess is definitely double modded, so it's just trying to get the 4th ship the same thing.
Yeah, so super cool list. Efficiency out the wazoo. It's just, this is the classic resistance efficiency. It just, they can do stuff. All right, let's keep it going. Will?
All right. Next up, this is Julian Neo, flying, you guessed it, more Rebels. This one, though, super AC. This is Hera in the A-Wing with marksmanship, elusive, and proton rockets. Luke Skywalker with foresight for those bullseye extra attacks. Proton torpedoes on R2 astromech and the S foils. Then Ahsoka Tano was brilliant evasion, and also foresight and concussion missiles. I remember looking at this and I was like, oh, an X-wing, a B-wing, and an A-wing. Interesting. And I was like, wait, that is the A-wing version of Hera, actually. So super AC there. I have to imagine the foresights were the upgrade that pushed this list over the edge. Being able to get those bonus attacks to hurt and like lower initiative ships that might come in for blocks, or even be able to shoot 2 or 3 times at an I-6 before it gets to fire back at you as well. I find that very interesting. Of course, the Ahsoka and Hera combination. Ahsoka gives Hera an evade. She can link it into a boost before she moves even. Then she can move up and focus. Or in the case that Hera is about to line up a proton rocket, you could give her target lock for her proton rocket then to get a double modified attack. This is a very interesting take on Rebels right now. In a meta where we thought, or questioned may be the best word, of the ability for aces to perform well, especially a triple ace list. This one does it to great success. I'm sure the force and healing doesn't hurt.
I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen foresight too much on Luke Skywalker in the past. I mean, it just kind of feels like it's a ship that it makes sense on because he can regenerate force so easily when he's targeted.
Yeah, he's got the best force economy.
I would like to point out that even though it's not utilized directly in this list, Ahsoka Tano is one of the few ships in the entire game that can take both foresight and sense if they wanted to. So if we're talking that ability to potentially affect having options for still being a really good ship second player, but a terror potentially in tools as a first player, Ahsoka having both tools at the same time and not being reliant on someone else to have sense to set up a foresight might be an interesting trick, albeit 11 points to commit to. Because it's foresight is 4 and sense is 5. Or no, it's Foresight's 6, or Foresight's 5, Sense is 6. Yeah, both went up 1 recently.
All right, let's keep it going, Marcel.
All right, we got Bartaj flying 6 Rebel, not Resistance, 6 Rebel A-Wings. So he's got the Phoenix Squadron RZ-1 with starboard slash, all of these with vector cannons, of course. Green Pilot. Phoenix is the initiative 1. I think the green squadrons are the initiative 3s with starboard slash. Derek Clivian, which is the guy that gives you the target locks. He takes target locks and eventually he'll start doing fun stuff. With Crackshot, actually, you don't see Crackshot that often anymore. After it went up to 3 points. Arvel with starboard slash and intimidation. And then Sabine, which is, I think, the best and underutilized A-Wing, or the best underutilized A-Wing that is either in the Rebel or the Resistance. Sabine Wren, while you defend or perform an attack, if the attack range is 1 and you are in the enemy ship's front arc, you may change one of your results to an evade or a hit. It's basically offensive and defensive. It's fearless and Concordia face-off in one. So good on a 3 agility ship. So yeah, and then you throw Crackshot on top of that. Bad stuff. But yeah, I was actually super surprised that that this did well, to be honest with you. I don't know how he flew them.
We do.
I
Will,
Yes.
you want to talk about it?
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, go for it.
He jousted a trajectory simulator. What do you think about that, Marcel?
Trajectory simulator, what?
Nim.
Nim with Tarani, Gistero, and Uncarplet.
Yeah, it was amazing. We'll talk more about that later on, but it worked out for him. There was a good chance that it wasn't going to work out for him, but he happened to pull it off.
It was an exciting game to watch. Put it that way. Highly recommended if you didn't get to see it.
Yeah, it was like, well, we're about to enter turn 3, and like it felt like the whole game had been decided.
This is actually also the. Starboard slash is another thing that you don't see. A lot of people would have expected to see that a lot in the Resistance A-wings, and it never really took off. But I guess when you have 6 of them,
yeah, you can't clear out you can't clear 6 string.
Yeah,
And I will say on vectored cannons A-wing, you could also make a case for hopeful at times as well. Even though Starboard Slash does have sort of the immediate fly through, I've already rotated my arc, just do a blue maneuver, and then focus and shoot at something that's strained. But because you don't always do the boost and focus in the same turn, you could have used, especially with all these ships, to also utilize hopeful to swing that back arc a little bit around in those perfect information opportunities if one of your ships do die.
I mean, I have to imagine when we saw Bartosz fly it, he was really leaning into that Arvel intimidation, really wanting to make sure that he got that to work. So I can imagine combining starboard slashes with the Arvel intimidation to get those 2 dice, like rear arc guns, to actually hit targets.
For sure. Probably wishes he had Meryl too.
Oh man, Merle and Arvel together? Oh, what
Sounds
a nightmare.
like fun. Another big thing to point out, this is the very first list of a ship count of 5 or higher in the entire thing we're talking about so far. This is the 6th ship list from Bartosz, utilizing his skills that he's mastered sort of in the past of utilizing a lot of A-wings in lists, whether it is 5 or more. But high ship count, it's ship counts 3 or 4. And go into potential data later, but this is top 16. Nothing in top 8 was above 4 ships.
Speaking of 4 ships, Brian.
Oh, didn't know if it was much. All right, so we have Damien Wajda? Damien.
Yeah.
Running the Galactic Republic. Very interesting combination of ships. We have Hound in the Lat with 7th Fleet Gunner. I'm a big fan of 7th Fleet Gunner Lats. We have Click in the Nimbus class V-Wing with elusive R3 astromech, the best title, and seismic charges. We have Shock T with R5 astromech, and then we have Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Delta 7 with R5 and calibrated laser targeting for that really potentially big range 1 bullseye 5-die shot with 7th Fleet, backed up by the fire convergence rerolls and a focus added from calibrated laser targeting, which is an insanely accurate 5-dice shot. It's nuts. If you've never looked at the numbers or lined up a CLT with a LAT 7th Fleet, you should do it. It's very fun. I'm surprised Marcel hasn't done it yet for how much he loves 5-dice shots and Jedi at the same time. But Click is sort of an interesting piece that we don't see a lot of these days. And it's something that can actually very well help protect up to 2 pieces of your Republic list. And all Click needs to do is slap his favorite upgrade R3 astromech on to make sure he can lock 2 things. But while a ship that Click has locked at range 1 to 3 defends or performs an attack, you may spend a charge, which Click does only have 1 of, to prevent range bonuses from being applied. So whether you want to go Grand Inquisitor style and stop someone from getting the extra dice at range 1 against you, or in a not so Grand Inquisitor style, get rid of the range 3 bonus someone might have defensively when your friendly ship is attacking them. And click doesn't even need to be in the fight at all. Just needs to be, the friendly ship needs to be locked and needs to be range 1 of 3 of click.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, we got to see Damien play on stream and really see that power. We got to see that magic shot you were talking about, Stanny. We got to see it a couple times. Obi-Wan just rolling up. 7 Fleet CLT, pop. Let's go.
Man,
You're dead.
It's like the most powerful shotgun in this game.
Yeah.
I think he had set a record for most 7th Fleet gunners I've seen in one game.
He used it every turn. Every single turn.
You don't need the lat to provide a single shot in the entire game. As long as Obi-Wan gets those shots, he'll make up for the damage easy.
Yeah, if Hound could use it, he did use it every turn, which was crazy.
All right, now we're going into Enrico Coupe, a.k.a. Eno, bringing Marcel. Marcel, I'm going to have you break this one down since you got to play against Eno.
Okay, so Eno brought a 2-ship list, and it is Boba Fett and Boba Fett, and brought Lone Wolf, seismic charges, rigged cargo chute, stealth device, hull upgrade, Marauder, and veteran tail gunner, and then Dengar in the Jumpmaster with marksmanship, proton torpedoes, auto blaster, gamut key, Greedo, false transponder codes, and ablative plating in case he lands on his own seismic charge. You've got ablative plating up there before you would suffer a damage from an obstacle or from a friendly bomb detonating. You may spend the charge. If you do, you may prevent the damage. Boba Fett in this particular build. Did I say what came after Boba Marauder? It says Marauder in there.
Veteran tail gunner.
Veteran tail gunner, yeah. Yeah, so this Boba Fett, as long as it's keeping its distance from Dengar, out of the rear, it has 2 rerolls automatically with Lone Wolf and the Marauder title, which gives you a free reroll out of the back. And then, obviously you get the rerolls from being at range 1. I think the veteran tail gunner is what, like 3 points, 2 points now? Some crazy cheap number.
2.
2 points. So think about how good shooting twice is, and most cards that allow you to shoot twice are somewhere in the 8 to 10 point range. This is at 2. Like, I don't understand why every fire spray or every ship that can use a veteran tail gunner doesn't have it. Yes, it's not going to trigger every time, but especially on a fire spray that gets 3 dice out of the front and 3 dice out of the back, it's money. And then of course Dengar with auto blasters, marksmanship, and Greedo. Greedo alone is guaranteeing that as long as you're behind someone, that auto blaster is going to hit. It's always going to guarantee a hit, and if you have the bullseye, you're always going to guarantee 2 criticals at least out of the back. Now, I don't like the false transponder codes. I think contraband is always better on a Jumpmaster, especially these days that there's so many ways to shoot target locks from half the board away. The contraband, I think, with the bad dial on the Jumpmaster, you probably get a little bit more mileage on it, but it is a really good heavy-hitting 2-ship list.
Marcel, I think the thing with veteran tail gunner, it's normally difficult to set up complete front and back and have 2 ships in there, and especially in this meta right now where we're seeing 4 less ships being extremely predominant. Now, it is only 2 points, so its opportunity cost isn't as high as it used to be. Will we see it more? Maybe. Is it worth its value? Potentially. It's early and hard to tell, but at least before it was never taken because either they were better gunners or it just wasn't necessary and it didn't come up as often. And obviously before we had bids. and a bid was way more important than 2 points or 3 points spent on veteran tailgun.
Yeah. Let's actually one more note from the previous list, and this one is at this point, if you are not flying dash and you have the ability to, because that upgrade slot is in your slot, you need to be taking seismic charges. I mean, that's just, we're in a there's still 3 points, so there's no reason to take thermals anymore at 5 over seismic charges in the current environment. It's I don't know, what do you guys think? Is dash a big enough threat to where that becomes okay?
I think dash is a big enough threat to consider right now. If you don't have an answer for dash, you may need to reconsider your list building come the big GSP event for Alderaan.
Yeah.
I mean,
seismic charges are good.
I was going to say, seismic charges, I think, are the best bomb for their cost right now. They still get 2 charges for 3 points. On the large obstacles, that bomb radius is enormous, as big as dropping 2 thermals sometimes. Guaranteed damage as well. I don't think there's a reason not to bring seismics.
Now, one of the strategies we could end up seeing is if you guys remember this, man, this would have been 2018. There was a lot of Death Rain out there who was just trajectory simulator. All right, let's clear all the obstacles. Where are you gonna hide now? All right, like I don't know what else you would build out with that Death Rain in order to track down dash. But if you were going just
Darth
hard
Vader Defender,
yeah, I mean solid choice. But if your goal is to make dash have a bad day, or at least make it so that he can't hide in the obstacles, no more outrider, no more trick shot, and clear it early because of how Death Rain's ability works to be able to launch, reload, could be a good way if you set it up right. I remember one game I played specifically, I think it was against Kent Whitney. He's one of our locals now, where he just kind of lined him up at this 45. He was just launch, stop, moved forward, launch, stop. He cleared 4 obstacles before we even engaged. I was just like, where do I go now? Yeah, that's could be an interesting answer there. But yeah, I do agree with you, Marcel. Watch out. Seismic charges, definitely good tech. Speaking of more dash, here's another one. Alfred Susgornik brought a dash with trick shot, outrider, false transponder codes was the call there. Notable thing here, guys, no crew on dash. No crew whatsoever on dash. Instead, brought Jan Ors with engine upgrade and Moldy Crow, so Jan Ors can punch herself, right? She's able to bring that that Moldy Crow so that she has that 3-die gun. But probably more importantly, what it's used for is adding that additional attack die to dash, making that 5, sometimes 6 with trick shot dice. Now, my question is the modifications. I mean, like, essentially, you're just modding with a single token, right?
No, you got Hera.
Oh, yeah, sorry, didn't finish the list. You got Hera. Yeah, Hera Syndulla in the B-Wing, no less. In the B-Wing. So, here's a question. B-Wing
Fire control system on Hera over false transponder codes. I'm just saying because Hera wants to be able to mod her own shot and then toss that token over.
Yeah, but Hera could also just grab a lock, give it to Dash to get the false transponder codes halfway through a shot.
Ooh.
Dirty.
You could also just fly Janor's better and don't take engine upgrade.
Yeah. Well, she's got to keep up with Dash.
It's false transponder codes when you take a lock action or when you acquire a lock? Or
when you acquire a lock.
When you acquire.
When it was ruled that Hera, when the word transfer means the ship acquires a lock. There's no way to get a lock token without acquiring one.
So there it is.
Nice.
5, sometimes 6 dice dash Rendar there with Hera to support. So if you're facing off against this list, are you know what, let me ask you, let's take a second to talk about playing against dash. I know, of course, there's always game time decisions, but if you had your choice on the target that you want to focus on first, is it like is it go after the support first most of the time, or is it go after dash? What do you guys think?
It depends on what your list is. So if you have Kylo and you have a way of hunting dash late, if you can kill the support and make it easier to kill him, you take that shot. If you are, you know, if you have a TIE Swarm or something like that, you're trying to, regardless of what the other things are, you're trying to catch dash as fast as possible, because 2-die guns are not gonna, they're not gonna kill dash. I mean, you need sustained power, so it really depends on your list. And if you have other initiative 5s, it depends on who won or lost a bit, I think. In this one, I think you're probably going after, I mean, this is a tough one because you're probably going after the support, because dash without all the extra actions and all the extra modifiers is not as dangerous. In my list, you go after dash because Cornhorn is a trap unless he dies in 2 shots. Because he's regenerating and he's usually got Lone Wolf and stuff like that. In the winning list, you probably go after Jake first. I mean, I regret not shooting Jake early, because Jake is what makes that one work. So I think it depends. It's a terrible answer. I hate when people say it depends, because it's like a non-answer. But I guess that was the answer, because I was given specifics of in what situation. But in this particular one, I think you probably go after Hera because it's the easiest to kill, or Janors because it. I mean, you're saying Janors to give Dash a 6th die or 5th die. How about to give Hera a 4th or 5th die? I mean, you could do that as well.
This is very true. This is very true. All right, so there was Alfred Skornik. Let's keep the party rolling. Now we have Alexander Oler, not to be confused with. There's 2 of them. There's an.
This is getting out of hand.
There it
Now
is.
there are 2 of them.
All right, this is not Andrew Oler, the Mon Cala champion. This is Alexander Oler, his brother. Take it, Will.
All right. As a note, this is, I think, our first hyperspace legal list. And Alexander did very well at Hoth flying this. I believe he made it into the cut. But this is a resistance list. It starts off with Jessica Pava. Can't go wrong for 51 points, 7 health, 2 agility, natural rerolls, natural boost. Very, very good. Then combines that with a bunch of other I3s. 3 of them are New Republic patrols with dorsal turret and engine upgrade. Well, like, of course, I skipped over that one, Jill. But that's fine, though, because the other ones are generics. I just need intuitive interface because it's after you perform an action added to your action bar by, in this case, a modification, you can perform a calculate action. So it makes these New Republic patrols very fast, utilizing white boost to keep arc with that dorsal turret to engage on their terms very quickly. And then on top of that, let me check the exact point count. 1 more point for this ability. 1 more point. Lega costs than a New Republic patrol. Lega gets to reroll an attack die for each friendly device or calculating friendly ship in the attack arc. So, because she can shoot first, before all the other Y-Wings spend their calculates, she can get either focus reroll or calculate reroll if she had to boost as well. That's super consistent for only, like I said, one more point of value buy on Lego, though there's a whole list built around it. These things, I had a chance to play against them, and they are deceptively fast and hard to shake, if that makes sense. With those 180-degree arcs, it's going to be a bad time. Plus, I think the secret sauce is its points fortressing Jessica Pava, because I think you'd always rather shoot at a Y-Wing than Jess in this list. So, very interesting utilization of the generic Y-Wings here spammed in the resistance.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And our final top 16 list is Alex Mogensen, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that number. Yes.
I believe that's correct.
Yep. Take it, Marcel.
Okay. Alex brought Rush in the silencer with automated target priority and proton rockets. Breach bomber with fanatical plasma torpedoes, which I think are a great call right now. 7 points. Proximity mines. I'm assuming it's counter nets behind that breach card.
Concussion bombs.
There you go. Anything else behind that? There you go. Thank you. Proximity mines, concussion bombs, and then Kylo Ren in the silencer with extreme maneuvers and sensor scramblers. The new card that that's the one that lets you cloak at the beginning, right? And then you should end to be in fun places. Yeah, very interesting loadout. Prockets on Rush feels like a strange call, but if you have the points.
Well, that's because you start the game by concussion bombing Rush, and you start the game with an initiative 6.
Yeah, I still don't like automated target priority on Rush on an I6.
See, that's where I think you're
That's
missing
a secret
it, though.
sauce, baby. That's a secret sauce.
I get what you're saying. Like you get, if you miss, you get to have a defensive token
Exactly.
early on. No, I get it. I get what it's doing, but I like to shoot what I want to shoot.
Because when we saw it played, the math breaks.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that the math breaks down to automated target and priority only has to save you 1 damage to make up for bombing yourself.
But also, when you're I6 at that point, you have a lot of control with your own boosts and barrel rolls as to what you're going to shoot still. Because it just needs to be stuff in the closest range band. So, especially with boost, you have a lot of control on that.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So now, before we end our top 32, our top 16, I want to take a quick dip into the top 32. I want you guys, and I have one ready to go. Pick one list that we haven't covered that's in the top 32 that you just like to point out. All right. So I'm going to go dip down here to my friend Andrew Prevost, bringing an Imperial list that when we saw it on paper, had to do a double take. So we have Sunterfell, which is not the surprising one. Okay, Sunterfell with Predator, classic Imperial. To see it make it to the cut, is honestly surprising with the number of high initiative turrets that we had out there. And then you had Leighton Dre, or Dree. I'm not sure how it's pronounced exactly. So if you're not familiar with Leighton, that's a TIE Brute. While a friendly ship at range 0 to 2 performs an attack, if you are in the defender's side arcs, one of them, the attacker may reroll 1 attack die. So you're able to have this high runner-esque ish ability, and the swarm that you bring is an Alpha Squadron pilot, that is the Initiative 1 TIE Interceptor, and 3 Initiative 1 TIE Fighters. Like, looking at this list, this seems like a Yasby random like type of list. Besides the Leighton Dre, it just seems like a very the combination doesn't seem intuitive until you get to see it flown. And we did get to see a game where he played. Now, he did lose that game, if I'm not mistaken, but you could see the precision that the swarm is flown in, and Sunterfell on the flank. Like, it just works. It's Ace mini swarm plus support, which normally you don't, you think Ace mini swarm is a pretty classic archetype, but being able to have that support ship in there as well, Leighton Dre just upping the power of the mini swarm is pretty sweet. All right, Ryan, you got who do you want to take a look at?
I would like to take a look at Zach, Beatty, or Betty, because it's the only droid swarm in the top cut, and I'd like to visit that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 separatist drones, the I-3, now at the same price as the I-1, all with grappling struts. They're 0 cost now. And then a separatist Predator HMP with Kraken, Dark One probe droids, and repulsor stabilizers at 200 points. So into the first engagement, theoretically, every single ship will have a target lock on someone, whoever they decide to. The HMP will be able to have plenty of rerolls, albeit it's just one of them. And then Kraken says 3 of the ships in the whole list get to hold on to a calculate to make that network calculations more efficient and have a deeper pool at the start. It's 8 ships. I don't know, remember the last time we had an 8-ship list in a cut. Makes me feel good. I don't know if this is, quote, the right thing or avenue to discover more or try. Still hard for me to believe that something like this can get through a dash with the Perceptive Copilot Jyn Erso combination. It's a lot of things you have to throw at it. That's just a lot of 2 dice attacks. And Dash just flies through rocks to get rid of locks anyway with Dark One probe droids, which can be pretty annoying at times, but you got the odd happenstance that a droid actually blocks Dash because they have grappling struts. It can also go where Dash can go as well. So there might be potential there. Not a lot of people know what to do against 8-ship lists in general. They look at that and they go, that's a lot of ships. What do I do? And they can a lot of times catch a lot of people by surprise by just not having the experience against it. It doesn't have a lot of tools, though, beyond just here's a lot of ships, here's efficient tokens, and ideally double modified attacks with calculate and locks.
Yeah. And you're just also hoping that you have time to get those DRK probe droid locks set up before you engage, right? Because if somebody rushes you, you might not have the time to set those up. But I'd be scared if somebody hooks up those target locks early on and says, "Okay, come play with me." That seems like a bad day. All right, Marcel, what about you?
Okay, so I am going to go with Luciano Bota. Luciano is from Peru, and we all know about Peru already. By the way, Peru's having their Lima Open. I think you attended it at one time, Dion, and they're doing their charity event. So if you haven't signed up for that, go check their page out. Luciano brought V Marathi with C-3PO. So it is not C-3P Rose, it is V Marathi.
V3PO.
V3PO. There you go. Good one. You get a golf clap for that one. So Vimerati. So
technically, her
Vimerati's
name is Vi, but anyway.
Don't correct me. I'll get it eventually. Maybe not. So after placing forces assigned the compromising intel condition to one enemy ship, what compromising intel does is it allows you to see that ship's dial from range 0 to 3. So it is essentially like sense on just that one given ship. So it's better than informant. It's kind of a mix between informant and sense. But additionally, it also means that ship cannot spend focus tokens against you on either offense or defense. So it makes Vimerati against that powerful ship less likely to get killed. It's a good ace hunter. It's good against like anything that's AC, I guess. Poe. And then he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 blue Squadron T-70s with BB-8 astromech. BB astromech are the ones that allow you to barrel. You get 2 charges, so you get to barrel before moving, as long as you revealed a blue maneuver. Again, you mix that together with Vimerati seeing a ship where that ship is going to be. It makes it super easy for you to put yourself where you're going to block that ship. And, T-70s are just good. So if you have 4 T-70s, you're going to do all right. Vimerati has a way of staying alive a little bit. C-3PO, still gives it that C-3P Rose-esque type of thing. And, I think it's just a super simple, basic list that works.
And last but certainly not least, what do you want to feature here, Will?
Let's go completely different. Let's go with Blaze. I don't know. There's a thing over the Z. I don't know how to pronounce that, Dion.
Yep, I got you. Blazej Mitzal is my best guess.
That sounded perfect to me. Anyways, this is not basic and efficient. This is 2 decimators. This is Rear Admiral Chernow, of course, rocking upgrades he likes, which is the Minister Tua to get a red reinforce if you're damaged. Rack, of course, loves the reinforce because he can, if you use reinforcing, he gets an offensive focus to crit mod. Has Darth Vader for either what I've now just considered start of engagement jams or damage if you happen to not have a token. Or it could just be a force point if you don't end up using it. Novice Technician, a card that recently went down in price, to heal some of that massive, let me double check the numbers, 13 hull on the Decimator with that hull upgrade deal.
Thick.
Oof, that's thick. You're going to need somebody out there wrenching on the thing once it starts taking crits. Then you have Agile Gunner, another card that recently went down on large base ships, which is essentially a free action to change dial at the end of the turn. Seismic charges, which I was just ranting about how good seismic charges are, and of course that hull upgrade. Then, combined with him, the other decimator is Oiken. Oiken, of course, can attack ships at range 0. Great for blocking as well. Go up at low initiative, large base, get in people's way, and shoot them with a 4 dice attack. Notably, unlike Zeb, you can't shoot Oiken back. So it could set up some interesting things where you run into Oiken, and then you get Darth Vader as well. Gonna have a bad time. This one also has Novice Technician, has that same ridiculous amount of hull. A Force user in 7th Sister, who I believe is the replace a stress.
Yeah.
Let's read the card together. If an enemy ship at range 0 to 1 would gain a stress token, you may spend 1 force charge to have it gain 1 jam or tractor instead. So someone gets cute and was like, I'm going to focus boost into range 1 Awaken. No, you just boosted, in fact. Let's jam that token away, and you might even get tractored as well. So because there's a lot of self-stressors in the game, Seven Sister, very, very good to counter that. And if not, it is a force point for offense. And then we see the same Agile Gunner, Seismic Charges, Hull Upgrade, and then Oiken has the Dauntless title. So if he bumps into a ship, he can take a white action as a red. Same thing, he loves just running into people. If he's moving last, you just forward and just charge at some other lower initiative ship. Notably, though, no intimidation on Oiken. So maybe not getting as many bumps as they had originally planned, but still, a lot of hull, a lot of upgrades, a lot of modifications as well. And very interesting to see that it got that far in this kind of meta, but this might be kind of segue into what we've been alluding to this whole time, is that there probably wasn't very many ships shooting at those decimators.
Take it, Ryan. I think this was some of your research.
Well, I can't take complete credit for this data. It's always been nicely supplied to me by some of my other buddies in another Discord, one of which being Chris Apple, aka Boom Owl, who commonly puts these together for every GSP event. This is the ship count sort of stats that he has compiled. And we can see a drastic high percentage within that 3 and 4 ship list count right now. 38% of the event was 4 ship, 31.3% being 3 ship. The next highest after that was 5 ship with only 16%. Everything else was less than 10. 2 ships coming at next with 9.2. And then everything 6 and higher, as it's actually been even before the RPO change. X-Wing 2.5, as I've almost called it at this point. Very diminished, not there. Show up sometimes do okay, but don't generally get past the top 8. Is this healthy? Is this balanced? People feel like this is a good meta. And while I do agree there is a wide variety of pilots being used and a variety of some tools available, your base archetypes, so it's not always that a ship count equals an archetype, but does this feel balanced to you? That might be a sort of swayed question with these numbers in front of you, but obviously numbers, depending on how you take them, can still be perception based. So don't feel that this graph itself directs you to what you should answer. What is your feeling right now?
I like it where it's at, because you can still you're still within your bounds to play 6, 7, and 8, and you can definitely play that in a more league type environment. I think 6 ships, it's still okay. Where I like it is I think that 4 and 5, not so much 3, but I think that actually that whole 3 to 5 range is like the 3 ships is your AC, not your AC, but it's your very either 2 on support or 3 very powerful ships. 4 is like your beefy, mix mash, and 5 is your bulky. I think that feels good. That feels right. That gives you a lot of variety. And then you have the outliers, which are 2 ship or 6, 7, and 8 on the other end. One of the things that, for me personally, playing again, this is talking about in competitive terms, because in a casual game you can play whatever you want, and it's not as there's just not as much on the line. It's just fun, you're just playing whatever. The playing in a tournament environment, playing against 7 and 8 ship lists, sometimes 6, just feels a little bit under. It's not as fun for me because you get a lot less turns. And if you look at yourself, you're playing, let's say, 3 ships, which is, what's the majority? Yeah, 3 or 4 ships against 8. It feels like you're only playing 6, 7, 8, 9 turns, depends. And there's a lot of bumping. There's a lot of messiness.
I mean, you were playing only 9 turns with 4 ships on both sides anyway, but.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it'll get even worse when you get down to 8. It gets worse when you get down to like the 7 and 8s. And there's just not that many rounds being played. It's a little bit more messy. It's not, and again, I know that this is a completely me search. It's not like
me search, not research.
Exactly. It's just my opinion. It's my feeling. But playing those games that are just really messy with, you're spending half of your time, marking, moving over, marking, judge, is this bumping? And getting 6 rounds, and it just feels for me not as X-Wing in my version. I know, Brian, you're probably like, I hate it.
I'm letting you say your piece. Okay.
But I know that this is completely my personal take on it. But I just like faster games. The dials are faster. The movements are faster and cleaner, less bumping going around. I know that's kind of an oxymoron because I like to play ships that bump, but less bumping because it's just like a big mishmash of everything. And I'm really bad at bumping too, so that's probably why I feel that way. I mean, you guys know that I because of the way that my hand is, I struggle a lot to mark ships and clear ships, and it's my hand just has a mind of its own and knocks stuff over, so it's not fun for that reason.
So Will, how do you feel?
So what you're asking is this balanced?
Well, so does this trend, again, we don't have to look directly.
Okay.
This is the numbers we have for now, this is early.
Sure.
This is still early in the meta. But this is a large event. These events are always driving forces in how people are going to prep and feel about how the game is right now. Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about what you're seeing being played, being successful, and maybe out of the data we've gotten so far?
Well, I mean, to me, it tracks with how the points have encouraged list. We've seen a lot of expensive ships get decreased in price. We've seen a lot of large bases get cheaper. We've seen a lot of the mid-initiative pilots, that compression, getting them closer and closer to the price of just a simple generic. A lot of that is encouraging these 4-ship builds. The increase in price of the generics, specifically like the M3As, the V1s, while granted you're just basically forced to have grappling struts, but vultures and hyenas now as well all saw an uptick in cost. Even the Typho, one of the cheaper 3 agility ships, went up in price. So that was, to me, suggesting that I shouldn't fly those ships and I should look for different options. And as a competitive observer and player, I can see how a lot of people have had that same reaction to that. And I don't know if I wish, Ryan, and maybe this is my question to maybe ease my own mind, is if it's not V-Wings, if it's not M3As, what ships should we be looking at for 6, 7, and 8 ship builds? Obviously, Vultures are very good at 8-ship builds. But like, what other options are there that wasn't priced in a way to where I would just think of this old mantra of like, if it's not undercosted, it's overcosted kind of situation.
Oh, so how Dash feels right now, realistically. To me, on my perspective,
maybe.
Right.
Dash is either undercosted or overcosted. It's gonna be extremely hard for how that ship plays and flies and what it does to a game state to find that middle ground where it's like we found it, we found the spot. Dash is okay existing at this cost. It's so hard.
So
But he only throws 3 dice at range 1. That's fair.
Yeah, just get range 1
Yeah,
of them.
just get to range 1 through obstacles that he can fly through, that you can't lock him,
All right.
and he can go wherever he wants.
But that's 2 ship builds, though. We don't care about that. I want to know.
3.
Okay,
Been
fair
3.
enough. Dash 2A, very good. What chassis should we be looking at to get more people to fly 6, 7, 8 ship lists?
Z95s?
So you mentioned the Vultures. You mentioned there's Z95s, TIE fighters of all types, whether it is the mining guilds, whether it is a regular TIE fighter. The problem is a lot of those ships right now suck. It's baseline. They're
not good. They're not good.
You can't make people play ships that aren't competitive.
I know the title of today's episode, Swarms Suck, and then we're gonna put Stanny's cartoon up on the thumbnail.
Let's not use that word, deal.
So I
I'm
mean,
sure we could find a different word.
Yeah, we
yes,
could.
there will be some people who can excel with them or find a path through a Swiss that doesn't chew up their swarm, because there is list matchups that matter when you look at an event. Sometimes some people just dodge the bullet. At LSO, I dodged Bosk, who would have murdered my 7P Jedi Knights without a doubt, but I dodged him. Some people dodge their bad matchups. It just happens. But right now, if I were to tell someone who like is coming into X-Wing and they say, I want to play a little more competitively, and I love seeing, I want to be that person who's commanding all those ships flying at the heroes, just swarming them like crazy. I don't know where I'd point them to and make them be happy with playing competitively, sadly enough.
I think TIE Swarm is really where I don't know how many people brought it to this tournament, but zero. But I do think they're legitimate because you can fly 6 of them with Iden Verso, which basically means that you're flying 7 because you're going to get a mulligan on one of those kills. Or you can opt out of Iden and still fit Howl Runner, the other I5s, a couple of I4s, and a couple like Night Beast and a generic to have 7 ship. So you still have a 7 ship TIE Swarm where only 2 of them are low initiative and the other 5 are initiative 4 or 5 with Howl Runner rerolls. I happen to think the Iden versus is better because I think his ability is just ridiculous. You know, giving a mulligan like, hey, I just rolled 4 hits and you blanked out and now it's 0 damage.
I'm just not sure what damage that list is doing without the Howl Runner rerolls. Though.
Oh, it is. I still have nightmares. I got tabled by it. It's bad. I just don't think a lot of people are flying it, but it's still good. Initiative 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think your standard 6-ship TIE Swarm is probably still better in the most competitive matchups. So yeah, I don't know why none of them showed up in this event. It's a good question.
I had to give an honorable mention. Speaking of TIE, I want to counter your point, Marcel, with instead of flying 6 TIE fighters, you could fly 6 mining guild TIE fighters and Kath Scarlet. Let's have seen Vivek flying around, and that is terrifying. Not only do you get to
Kath gives you an extra dice for raid.
If you're touching one of the TIE fighters.
Oh, so basically if they block, you get
They block you. One of the 6 TIE fighters blocks you, and then she shoots a 5 dice attack at you, range 1. I think I would take that version of the TIE Swarm over Iden and Howl Runner every day.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I mean, if that works, I mean, you have a punchy fire spray plus, you said 5 of them?
6. She
6?
went down.
Oh.
She went down to allow the 6th mining guild now.
That is actually that's a 7-ship list with a fire spray.
The fire spray.
Wow, there you go.
Tasty.
That actually sounds scary.
Maybe.
And it's
So-
avoiding rocks. Yeah. Oh, eesh.
So, Dion,
Interesting,
I'm
yeah.
surprised, and I'm not sure if maybe I missed this one day.
Mhm.
As the watcher of X-Wing, for people who've seen What If,
I am the watcher.
I will not intervene. What do you feel right now
So
in this, how everything has sort of evolved early?
Well, so the 4 ship being the most popular isn't surprising. Like, I feel like that is the most common, comfortable number of ships, right? It's like, I have enough to feel like I'm flying like a group of ships. You likely have enough points to like put some upgrades, but maybe not too many on there. It's a nice manageable number. It is my preferred number of ships. I think if I'm flying 4 ships, feels nice. It feels like I'm doing work. All right, it feels like I'm doing work with those. One of the things that I'm surprised with, we'll use this chart here, is we had seen 2 ship lists. I thought there would be, even though it's only 9%. We'll look at the quantified 15 number in this tournament. It is interesting that there were more 2 ship lists than there were 6, 7, and 8 combined. Like that is a surprising number to me, because my mind when it comes to first edition versus second edition. This is now going even more macro. You used to bring 2 ship lists because of points fortressing was the idea, right? You had one ship that was really hard to hurt, and you had the other one essentially run interference, and you try to win the game that way. And we saw a lot of double fire spray pop up, and I thought when the separate, like honestly, I did not have my ion dash going into Scarif personally. I didn't, but we've kind of traded one double 2 ship list for another, and one that in my opinion could be potentially more dangerous than the double fire spray over time. Because if the question I guess I have is going into Alderaan, the finale for this, if we see an uptick in dash, because every single time there's been a championship list, there is an uptick in the event after it with people trying it out. Hey, that's good. I'm just going to try it. Why not? Net listing works because it's literally a proven list, right? What is the answer to dash? And that is what I'm curious to see how that is going to inform those people who always take the meta like a step forward. It's like, okay, dash is popular. Dash is what won. How do I answer dash? How do I cover myself in that? And right now, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is, because normally I would say that the answer would be aces, which almost happened in the final of Scarif. But you have to have the confidence that you can get through the field with aces. And those are 3 ship lists, mostly, for aces, which doesn't address the swarm idea out there at all. Are we going to get more over time? I don't think so. I think this curve that we have here is likely going to be consistent. Obviously, the next big event is Alderaan, and we have other community events that are happening. And I'm curious. I think this trend that we see is going to stay very similar until we find that answer to dash, and then the numbers might shake up.
Seismic charge, Initiative 6, which doesn't fix this because it's still going to be the ships that want to take seismic charge usually have some points on them. and the Initiative 6. We're talking about Han Solo, all of the Han Solos. So both the Rebel Han Solo, because it's just tough to kill, and because of the regen, it can maintain the damage race against Han. The Resistance Han Solo, because it can basically say, I'm going to park right here, and I'm going to be range 1 of you, rolling my 4 against your 3 every turn, and I'm going to stay on your butt. And then you get the Scum Han Solo, because the Scum Han Solo is going to say, well, with my Kira, my Trick Shot, and my other stuff, I'll see your 4 dice, and I'll raise you my 4 or 5 in return, So I think those type of ships, Django as well, ships that can really close the distance, and then again seismic charges. So you can see something like like Han with a trajectory simulator, Nim, and so things like that. Or you can get like the Darth Vader. Darth Vader is fast enough and punchy enough. You talked about Death Rain, for example. And somebody said Death Rain with Darth Vader.
We've seen it competitively do well in the past.
Yeah, Death Rain and Darth Vader. Death Rain can clear some stuff. By the time you kill Death Rain, great. You kill Death Rain, but now Darth Vader's just going to chew up your dash. And we've seen that dash dies. It's got a lot of hull, it's got a lot of stuff, but it dies. You get it. Even the Renato's Eta is like it when they get close, that you get damage on it. So I do think there's options against it that are both good against dash and good against the current field, because those lists tend to do well against 4 and 5 ship lists anyway. Like the Han Solo just doesn't want to see 7 or 8 ships chasing it around, where they're gonna pincer it. So
let me ask. So it sounds like the highest concern in your mind is dash utilizing the obstacles, correct?
Well, dash utilizing the obstacles to keep people out of range 1. Because people normally, in order to get to range 1, they have to go around the obstacle and cut off the escape. But if you can have a clear path to get in and basically force dash to start using its actions to barrel roll and unmod itself, or and every time you barrel roll, you get yourself closer to a corner. So I think.
I guess my point is, what do you do if you clear a lot of space and now Dash just has a lot of space and still has support ships like Ahsoka, Hera, or Jake to supply, say, the Perceptive Co-Pilot Jyn Erso, the token stacking Dash? That, like, in my mind, I feel like the token stacking variation, or the variation that has, like you have, the Force and Calculate, a lot of efficient modifications. What are you doing about that? Is it something where you should look back at false transponder codes, look at something that's good jamming effects, or maybe not? Maybe it's not enough.
Here is one of the things, Will, you brought it up in our GSP chat earlier today. One of the original paper, scissors, rocks that was talked about was you had 3 archetypes, basic archetypes. You had turrets, you had swarms, and you had aces. And the idea was aces hunted turrets, all right? The swarms hunted aces, and turrets hunted swarms. So there was this this trifecta. Now, I
think you went the opposite way.
Did I go the opposite way?
Yeah, you said what Marcel said earlier in the chat, but I think it goes the opposite way, though.
Fix it for me.
Which one? All right, we need a third party. Which one's correct? I thought turrets beat aces because aces can't arc dodge turrets.
Yeah, but that's the old. We're talking about 1.0.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
turrets,
I'm just saying in 1.0, turrets beat aces, and now that aces can also arc dodge turrets, and
just less arcs to dodge.
But what if your turret is an ace?
Yeah, well, that's
a la Dash and Han.
Right. So and that's what the point I wanted to kind of get to is I think that, any type of paper, scissors, rock right now, especially if Dash becomes the catalyst for change and list building and the thought process around what you bring in a competitive event, I think that the paper, scissors, rock becomes more muddied. I mean, Marcel, your solution to beat this large base turret was 3 other large base turrets. It's just interesting to see that. So
right now if you're thinking the pillars as ace, let's even go 4, just because I think it's worth noting. Ace, turret, generally big base turret of some regard. Beef Joust, and Swarm. Whatever, rock, paper, scissors, whatever you want to add that 4th thing. The Swarm pillar is so deflated right now that it can't really contribute to whatever cycle of balance that theoretically they might be trying to achieve, if that's something that the developers or designers or people looking competitive play are going for.
Well,
that's my concern, unfortunately, as the person who's trying to utilize Swarm play and have it be, because to me, so if I'm just focusing on these numbers, that's abysmal. Like, trash tier. Why should I ever play Swarms? Why can't I be allowed to even play at 10% for all of 6+ ship lists? That goes up to 10%. People go crying and screaming. Why are Swarms so good? Why are they showing up at our event while their entire archetype is 50%? Feels bad to a guy like me.
And I think that is that's a perfect place to close. Is I think Alderaan is going to tell us if this is going to become more extreme. Where is it gonna flex at? I'm really curious to see. We'll have a pretty good crowd. We have 256 spots. Right. The hope is that there's a couple people who aren't able to make it, but we're trying to fill them. We're rolling them down as we go to try to fill it up. And I really want to see having that big data set where this ends up at. And one piece of data that I'd be really curious to do, and we haven't done it yet, is to kind of track some, because we've had players who've played in several of these, to see, like, are players normally staying with a consistent number of ships? So for instance, like a player that comes to mind is like Eno, right? Almost always 2 ships. Almost always. Right, but maybe there's some other players that, sometimes they got 2, sometimes they got 5, 6, who maybe are more more diverse in their list choices, and kind of seeing the success rates of those lists, because that's one thing that this chart doesn't say. Because we did have we mentioned a 6 ship, we had an 8 ship. We had a couple of them in that top 32 that were 6+ ships. Now, a majority of them weren't, for sure, but kind of seeing the performance of lists by ship count will be a curious stat to kind of check over time in their cut rates and things like that.
Do you think we might have a way in Alderaan to track it? Probably something that would have to be implemented into TTT, but if someone, when the game starts, goes in and says that person was first player, that person was first player, maybe part of the results submission, just like a little checkbox is who was first player. Mm-hmm. That'd be really cool.
We'd have to set up some type of separate Google form.
Let me ask you this. When we look at tabletop TO, when you look at rounds, that's always the same, is it not? When I look at it versus when you look at it,
yeah,
like the matchups are always the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just assign left as first, right as second. But I don't know if we could extrapolate from that, though. We wouldn't.
It wouldn't be.
In a way that would basically just do the 50-50 roll off anyway, as long as there isn't some
Right.
other weird thing that TTT does that sets up what's on left and what's on right.
Yeah, like alphabetical or some weird,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know
Alphabetical,
anything about
or
that,
maybe-
but
or order in which you signed up or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
we'd have to see if that's a thing. If it's actually completely random, if you could be on the left or the right, that would be a way to do that. But I don't know
Yeah,
how you could like quantify that later on and not just have someone go through it manually during
I
that.
think we'd still probably have to go through it manually. It would be a lot easier.
It would
though,
be
to
easier
do
because
so.
because it says like win, lose like that. So you can just see. And
yeah,
of
so
course,
the
it doesn't
whole right
matter.
side is all
Yeah,
wins.
but the hard part is it doesn't matter in more than half of the cases,
Sure.
because you're playing I6s, I5s against I2s, and then at that point, it's null.
Well, if the
So you
trend
would
continues, we might see a lot of I5s versus other I6s.
True, but what I'm saying is you'd have to, like, in order to make it data and make it meaningful, you'd have to say, okay, these are the matches that had meaningful initiative roll-offs. When I say meaningful, it's like usually if you have a salad, you have a 2, a 4, and a 5. No, like a 2, 2, 3, and a 4, and the other one has also like a 5, 4, and a 2. Those lists are not built necessarily to compete much on the bid. So if who wins the bid is not that big of a deal versus like some of the other ones that are like 5-5-6 against a 5-5-6 type of thing.
Well, I'll put my brain to thinking about how we're gonna do it. Probably for the sake of organization, it might be kind of like an opt-in thing. Just kind of like, hey, if you want to help us track this data, which I think most players would be up for it, possibly submitting results in more than one place, kind of like. We have tabletop.to is our official, and if you want to help us kind of get some ideas around this, you agree to like submit all your games also on a separate kind of spreadsheet type of thing. That would be a way for us to actually be able to parse some data quickly. While it wouldn't be a complete data set, it would allow the event to go, and for some of our, no offense, technologically maybe not as comfortable folks, it might be a way to do it. But
Maybe we try and implement it only for the top cut when we have a bracket.
that's another
Slimmer
idea.
pool, easier to control, and more direct matchups.
This is true. All right, everybody. Well, hopefully you enjoyed our breakdown of the Scarif Galactic Championship qualifier. In 2 weeks, the weekend of November 6th, we have the Battle for Alderaan, the Galactic Championship Invitational, the finale to our Galaxies series. Hopefully you tune in. If you're a player and you need to buy your ticket, please do so as soon as you can. If you are unable to participate, please contact me via Discord or email so that I can roll down the invite. And if you bought your ticket and it's just kind of sitting in your inbox, please complete your registration so that I can check you off my list. I'd appreciate it. As of right now, I can look at my thing. We have 108 invites accepted and ready to go. So that is a 42%. 42% of the invites are good to go, but that does mean that we have 58% of the folks that haven't responded yet. So let me know so that we can get these things rolling. We only got 2 weeks. This is going to come up on us real quick. So, yeah, I am truly aiming for that full 256 cap. I want to fill it out. So, let's be responsive. I'd appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For everybody here at Gold Squadron, be smart, be safe. Gold Squadron out.